Did you know, in one of Chicago PD's worst instances, the intelligence unit underwent a significant upheaval as a long-standing officer formally quit? Detective Jay Halstead, played by Lee Soffer, left Chicago, and his wife Haley Upton, played by Tracy Spitidakos, solidifies that Soffer has already announced a departure from the show. What caused this in A Good Man, episode 3 of season 10? Let's start. First off, was anyone expecting Soffer's exit? Since the NBC series' premiere in 2014, Soffer has played Halstead, and she has been in every episode of Chicago Med and Chicago Fire as well. It was shown that Detective Jay Halstead, Lee Soffer, had left the intelligence unit in the final moments of Chicago PD season 10, episode 3, A Good Man. Along with quitting the police, Halstead told his wife Haley Upton, Tracy Spitidakos, that he had accepted a new position with the army and would be situated in Bolivia for 8 months, maybe a little longer, raising many concerns what this implies for Upstead and the rest of the intelligence unit's future. They weren't prepared for such an unexpected departure that destroyed all of his relationships. Haley Upton was startled and inconsolable after Halstead resigned from the intelligence unit, which wasted 9 years of character development. Up next, what has showrunner Gwen Sigan said about the departure? Chicago PD season 10 will be the final season for the longtime detective of the CPD Jay Halstead, Lee Soffer. However, some One Chicago fans might be sad to say goodbye to Detective Halstead and everything that Soffer contributes to the series Chicago PD. According to showrunner Gwen Sigan, his departure won't need an abrupt farewell. Hopefully, it all makes sense when everyone sees the episode that he's departing in, and we did build to it, and we did have a chance to do that. We tried to keep it as grounded as possible and do justice to Jesse and how great he is. Sigan revealed to TV Line, he puts in an outstanding performance in all of it. It's going to be really impactful. Sigan also discussed the implications of Soffer's departure for Detective Halstead and Upton's relationship. It's definitely going to be a big impact on her character this season when she is without him. Sigan told TV Line, "It's such an exciting relationship, and it's been that way since the beginning. They have this thing together. It's like they know what each other is thinking, and they have always supported each other." Up next, how did Chicago PD write out Lee Soffer's Jay Halstead exit? That's it for Lee Soffer on Chicago PD. In an emotionally fraught hour, the actor said goodbye to intelligence on Wednesday's episode of the NBC drama, which served as his final appearance as Detective Jay Halstead. Halstead fatally killed a suspect in the episode after a fight between them. Instead of accepting Voight and Upton's deception, he surrendered to Chief Patrick O'Neill. After giving his badge back, he accepted a position in the army as squad leader of a team that hunts down the deadliest drug cartel targets. His appointment in Bolivia was scheduled. At the airport, Voight also bid his farewell. When the sergeant asked, Halstead replied, "I want to be you," he said, "but it's like you've always told me I'm not and I shouldn't try." Then he boarded the plane. Since Chicago PD is not as serialized as Chicago Fire and Chicago Med, there was no assurance that season 10 would progress to Halstead's departure in any particular way. When Rojas left the program between the conclusion of season 7 and the start of season 8, it wasn't because the show had prepared the audience for exits like Lindsay's and Antonio's in earlier seasons. Though PD Halstead said goodbye, it doesn't appear out of nowhere. The writers spent a great deal of time carefully constructing Halstead's exit. According to showrunner Gwen Sigan, who spoke to NBC Insider, "We all really wanted to do justice for Halstead's character as best as we could, to who he's been for the show. We really wanted to make that decision to leave his own decision. For it to come from him," she says. "It felt important to keep him alive and keep him out in the world trying to do good. The idea of him getting back to whom he gave us that opportunity. The Army's always been integral to who he is. I think that time with the Rangers shaped him, his morals, and his compass, and it was fitting that he'd want to get back to that, to some sort of simplicity and an idea of right and wrong." So, how will Voight be affected by Halstead leaving? Jay was in many ways Voight's better half, so his loss will have an impact on him, she says. Voight and Jay have practically formed a unit over the past season. Jay's choice to go and the reasons he gave for it seep into Voight, who has been rather quiet since Anna's passing. It's the idea of responsibility, that you are accountable for the people in your life and that your decisions affect them. It will have an impact since Voight has been subjected to this constant barrage of ideas for the past season and a half. Sigan further claims that Voight and Upton are tied up together as Jay's best friends despite their differences. As their friendship develops, she claims, Haley and Voight's relationship gets interesting. The irony is that they are in this together and have been for some time. Haley is the one who calls him out. Voight is the one who calls her out. They care about each other, and they are both reeling from Halstead leaving. Whether or not they want to admit it, there are a lot of unsaid things lying there between them: blame, guilt, anger, and tension. And now, what does Halstead leaving mean mean for Upton? Spiridakos is still employed by Chicago PD. Thus, Upton will continue to serve in the intelligence unit even without her spouse. Halstead did, however, leave a glimmer of hope for their relationship in their last discussion. "We're going to get through this because you're the love of my life, and if I'm yours." So as the season goes on, she'll have a tremendous amount of heartbreak to get through. This season, Haley is going to have to go through it, Sigan says. She's someone who dislikes dealing with emotion, who dislikes confronting it full on. She's naturally guarded. She wants to be strong, and she also wants to be strong for Jay. He asked for it. He said he needed it, and she loves him. But the truth is, she's been left behind, and that's heartbreaking. We'll see her deal with it by initially finding distraction, diving into work, putting all that feeling into the job, and when a case comes up that really gets inside her head, that distraction quickly turns into an obsession. It's an interesting path for her, driven by a substantial amount of emotion and refusal. Up next, what are the fans are thinking? Well, of course, since some scenarios are more terrible than others, the more pressing concern on the minds of many fans may be how exactly Halstead exits. It is not out of the ordinary for Chicago PD, even veteran series regulars, as fans saw with the passing of Alinsky at the conclusion of Season 5. On PD, Halstead and Upton are so closely connected, it's difficult to envision reasons why he would leave them without being murdered off, even with his brother over on Chicago Med. Since the Season 10 premiere established the dissatisfaction and impending fallout between Upton, and Voight within intelligence, the subsequent weeks will probably go on to further establish the reasons why he would depart. For the time being, all we can do is conjecture, and fans can only wish the character the best. After all, Gwen Sigan is confident that the audience will understand. Lastly, why do some say that Jay Halstead's exit was nonsensical? Jay Halstead acted as the intelligence unit's moral arbiter for 9 seasons. Then, in Season 10, Halstead began to resemble Voight, to use his words. Of course, that's not who Halstead is, and in Season 10, Episode 3, A Good Man, when Upton and Voight came up with another cover-up, he had a change of heart. But his choice to abandon everything and go to Bolivia for 8 months is as out of character as his prior actions. Some fans think it's hardly a good enough reason to abandon his wife and profession just because he can't tolerate dodgy police work at Voight's level. It unfairly assigns Voight responsibility for Halstead's resignation. The show should have enabled Jay Halstead to depart while upholding rights, honesty, and honor rather than tearing him apart. The exit of Jay Halstead was essentially insignificant. It makes no sense to give the beloved character a quick, fleeting bad boy storyline before his disappearance. In the closing image, Haley's eyes scream, "What is happening?" A query that is left unanswered before Halstead boards the first flight to Bolivia. If the writers of Chicago PD still have any respect for Halstead, and Upstead for that matter, they'll find a way to honorably finish up his story before the end of Season 10. What about you guys? What are your thoughts regarding Halstead's exit? Let us know what you think down in the comments section. Also, be sure to like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching!